Hey everyone. And so I have received a great question over on TikTok as I have been promoting therapy groups and therapists improving their ability to leverage their time while working less and earning more, while also utilizing the exact same skill set that they use in individual therapy in terms of the presenting problem that you can solve, but you can actually serve more than one person at a time. And so here's the thing. We have received countless hundreds, if not thousands of hours doing therapy groups, whether it be mock up sessions in grad school, practicum, internship, postgraduate, postdoc, if you went to a doctoral program, maybe even running therapy groups at your job or in somebody else's practice. And then the thing about progress notes comes into play. And then people become overwhelmed. And because sometimes we are not organized with our time, we are not structured with how we do progress notes, it can become very overwhelming where then we'll say, okay, well, I want to tap into therapy groups, but I'm already over my individual therapy notes, let alone group notes. And so here's what the question basically asked over on TikTok. I want to launch a therapy group, but the progress notes seem overwhelming. And that is a very much real thing because we can be buried in the actual paperwork that we currently have. So I decided to turn this into a masterclass. This is something that technically could be taught in any of my coaching programs. If any of my clients had asked me for this, I would have created it for them inside of our 5-figure a month and a year, streams of income communities. But I am going to give it to you at no additional cost. Okay. So all I want is your time. Grab your pen and paper and let's go ahead and hop into it. I am going to be sharing my screen because I do see this as more of a masterclass so that we can make sure that you are getting out what you need to learn from the masterclass. And so let me just make sure that everything is queued up. Let me head over to YouTube and make sure that the link is live. All right, we are good. And so, all right, cool. Okay, y'all can see the slides. And let me pull up the comment box just in case people have questions as they pop in. If you are watching this when I am going live later, feel free to drop down your questions below. And if you are new here or returning and you have never subscribed to the channel, or maybe you didn't even know I existed, and we need to be telling therapists out here that there are plenty of tutorials and masterclasses to help you grow your private practice and scale your private practice, then I would highly recommend that you go ahead and subscribe. Now, before we get into the progress notes, let's talk about what therapy groups or who therapy groups are good for. So I'm just going to name out some classifications of what type of businesses could benefit from this information. And so clearly agencies, if they train individuals, and I do training, so, hit your girl up. But if you are overseeing mental health providers, this should be an area of the curriculum, training, onboarding, or some type of didactic training. It can be for internship programs. It can be for you do clinical supervision. It could also be for group practice owners. And then, of course, for yourself as a mental health provider. Okay. So you got your pens and paper ready. Let's go ahead and get started. So let's talk about how we no longer want any type of note, let alone a therapy group note, to overwhelm you. Okay. And so I'm going to be showing you, I believe in a simple way to document the therapy group notes with structure and without stress. Okay. So the real question, again, I want to run therapy groups, but how am I supposed to write all these notes? That's the real question. Okay. So first things first, I want you to start with the mindset of the note will become easier when the group is actually structured before it starts. And so I find that the reason why we are overwhelmed with paperwork is because either the paperwork was not structured. We don't know what paperwork is supposed to go into the packet. We don't know what's supposed to go into the note. Heck, we don't even know which note we're going to do. You got the SOAP note, you got the GIRP note, you got the DAP, and then you have any other note according to evidence-based practices that you are supposed to do. And so you're welcome if you are watching and you said, thank you for this. Thank you for showing up live. And so your documentation becomes a very big important step for your success, especially if this is your practice, but it can also lead to promotions if you have a job because it's called deliverability and your ability to get those certain amount of hours that you have to bill for, at these jobs. And so this is a part of the beginning of your group design. So below this video, I have plugged in our therapy group. I'll talk about it later, but our therapy group starter kit and our therapy group masterclass. The reason why I'm mentioning those is because they have step-by-step processes already done for you based off the phase of the group that you would like to be in. Okay. So we're going to talk about that more at the end. So we should all be familiar with a SOAP note. So SOAP note stands for subjective, objective, assessment, and plan. Okay. SOAP. SOAP. We should know what a SOAP note is because some of you all do them in your EHR. Okay. So a SOAP note, I like to break things down like I'm talking to my 8-year-old or my 15-year-old. Subjective means what the client says. So what I would love for you to do if you have students that are seeing clients and they just need to know basic language with notes, go ahead and shoot them this video as well. So subjective is what the client actually says. Objective, what you see. Assessment, what you think clinically based off of what you are observing. And then the plan is, well, what happens next? And so we're going to keep it simple. You want to make sure, we call it the clinical loop, that you keep it connected to the group goal. That's the key. And if you have not set up a group goal, ideally before the group even starts, this is where the overwhelm actually begins, the planning phase. Okay. So now let's look at one of my favorites, the GIRP note. I've done both. I really love teaching the GIRP note to students. I've been a postdoc and pre-doc clinical supervisor over nonprofit mental health programs. I also was for a large county out here in Southern California. You probably have heard of it. I won't mention the name, but it's the largest county in Southern California. So I was the quality assurance psychologist in the juvenile justice program. So I had to look at a lot of paperwork, fix a lot of paperwork, train on a lot of paperwork. So GIRP, goal, intervention, response, and plan. Okay. So to keep it simple, the goal, what are you actually working on? And you're going to see why I'm going to hyper emphasize that you select GIRP for a therapy group note. Okay. Great day, y'all. So, goal, what are y'all working on or what are you going to deliver? The intervention, what did I do today? What did I do today with them? Based off the curriculum that you should have created. Okay. Response, how did the client respond? The plan, what happens next? That's the same, just like the plan and the SOAP note. Again, keep it simple. Everything that you write in here should be linked to the goal for therapy. Okay. So I'm going to pull it all together to show you how simplified I'm about to make this and what I would love for you to do. If you think that anything that I'm sharing is a 10 out of 10, you like, dang, this girl done broke it down. Dang, she make it simple. Dang, I'm about to actually use this in individual therapy. I just want you to drop 10s on every slide. If you like, this is so simple. And for some of you, it's a good refresher because we've been out of school for a long time. So I'm going to give you a group example. Let's just say we have a closed group. Closed group means once you onboard and enroll everybody, can't nobody come in. You are done. However long your group is, it's only those members and that's it. So this is a closed group for 8 weeks. And let's just say it's for women who are going through postpartum. Now, I love groups to be specific so that everybody's in the same life season. So for working moms, they can work at home. Okay. Content creators and all. Working moms with babies under the age of 1 who want realistic self-care while managing motherhood, work, home, and the multiple roles they wear every 5 minutes. Okay. Super simple, right? We know who we are targeting. So the group goal. Now, I haven't done an intake with all these women, but it shouldn't matter. Why? Because I should have a group goal before I even invite women into the interviewing process, screening, so that I can make sure that they actually want to work on these goals. So by the end of the 8 weeks, and you got to be really careful with wording what's called, we call this in our private practice coaching programs, the guarantee. Every product you buy has a guarantee. This bottle has a guarantee. The guarantee is it is an insulated bottle and it will keep my water warm. It will keep my ice frozen. It will not leak. It has so many guarantees to the point where I know exactly what I'm investing in. I'm not buying just a pink, I love it, water bottle. I am buying a water bottle where when we go to Walt Disney World or Disneyland or we're in Southern California and it's hot, I can take this outside or my son can have one and take it to school and his water won't be hot. Okay. So what is the guarantee? Within the 8 weeks at the end, the members will identify and practice realistic self-care strategies that fit their current season of motherhood. Now that's general, but the way that I'm going to meet this goal is based off of the specific curriculum that I've created. Okay, y'all follow? All right. So, step number one, define the group goal first. So, this again happens before the group starts. And this will include things like screening, intake, like in that starter kit, I give you some interview questions to add on that are group specific to regular intake questions. Because, yes, you need to do an intake for therapy group people. Okay. Curriculum, you need to create that. And notes should all connect back to the group goal. Okay. So I'm going to use GIRP and I'm actually going to break an example down. So you can always come back to this video and rewatch it as many times as you need to. So the goal, the G is for goal, remember? So, example, the client will identify at least three. Now we're being hyper specific with a SMART goal. Three realistic self care practices. So that means I'm going to be showing them how to do something, right? And use one practice weekly to support emotional regulation and role adjustment. So this is telling me a lot. If somebody that never knew my group just read this goal, you should be able to know, okay, she said it was women that are going through postpartum, but they have to have children that are less than 1 year old, right? Like 1 year old or less. She also said within 8 weeks, she's going to teach them just three. We ain't got to do 10, y'all, just three, because we can ask them every other week, how did it go? Let's do some role plays. What happened? It also tells us that these women probably emotions, anxiety, depression, all over the place because we need to regulate how they feel and how they show up. And also role adjustment. These women and their dysregulated emotions are probably impacting how they show up as a mother, how they show up as a partner or as a spouse at their job, working from home with their other children, with the child under one. This can explain a lot. This is why it's important that you set the tone in the beginning. Okay. I is for intervention. So this is what you did in the group that day. Okay. So let me be clear. I'm going to sneak this in here. This is your coaching nugget. The goal does not change for every progress note. Write that down. Let me go back, actually. The goal does not change for every single progress note. When we used to, kind of sharing my mental health age, when we used to do paper charts in the jail, when I was in the camp, we used to write or type the goal, make a copy for the amount of kids for the whole 8 week, 15-week group that we had to do. And we would actually, I ain't got to it yet, but we would also put the plan because we know what each week we're going to have them do for homework. The only thing that we would change is the actual assessment. Hello, which I'm telling you to create a template in your EHR. Wink, wink. So, clinician provided psychoeducation on realistic self care, facilitated group discussion, and guided members through a role-based self-care planning activity. Now, the reason I'm being very specific, you can choose to change your intervention each week. You can say based off your curriculum that my intervention for session one will be one thing because they're getting to know me and they're getting to know each other. My intervention for every other week will look like this because I always do. Step one, psychoeducate. I teach them one skill set. Step two, we do a group discussion about how that is going to help them in life. And then step three, I'm going to have them do some role plays didactically or with all of us or, whatever. Right. So I can say, hey, that's what I do every other week. Make it easy for you. I've done evidence-based practices to the point where we have to repeat the same intervention every single week. So what am I telling you? Now the goal didn't change. The intervention didn't change. So what did change? Well, the R. The R, or if you're doing a SOAP note, the assessment. So the R is for response. You cannot pre-write this. If you do, that is unethical. How did they respond to you? So this is the most important piece of the note because it's individualized, right? So how did they specifically show up? Now get this, if your brain ain't scattered because part one, part two, and part four is pre-written for me because I did my due diligence by putting in more hours the first time I ran my group, that now I can actually pay attention and don't let you have a co-worker or a co-facilitator. Oh, now y'all can divide up the group. Because y'all can take four people, y'all can each take y'all person. And guess what? Once you start to know how people, I know with kids, by default, I would know how these kids would show up, and I wouldn't pre-write the note, but it would become easy to write the note because I'm familiar with them. Why? Because I did the intake. I made sure that they were the right person for the group. I made sure that they wanted the outcome. So, were they engaged? Well, how? Were they engaged? You got to write that. Were they quiet? Now, some of these could be check marks with then you write it out. So you can say, this is what I'm typically seeing in the response from our clients, meaning were they talkative or not? Did they isolate? Did they engage? So you can do check boxes and then you can write out extra stuff. I believe in templates. So engage, quiet, guarded, tearful, reflective. These are some examples. Needed prompting, completed the activity, left the group early, whatever you think is applicable to your audience. Got it? All right. Now the plan, again, this should not change unless it is maybe the first session or the last session, because the last session is they graduated. You're going to send them their certificate, right? Or you're going to invite them in for another round. I don't know. So this may be similar across, again, the group. Client will practice one realistic self-care activity before next session and reflect on barriers during the next group meeting. What is it saying in layman's terms? You're going to get this person one thing to work on out of the one thing that you taught them. Remember, only one psychoeducational self-care topic. They already discussed it. So they've already talked about, well, I want to practice this and I want to be able to take a walk outside, but I need somebody to watch my baby. My husband, he work at night. So therefore he sleep when I'm up. I need some help, but I got an 18-year-old son in the house. So maybe we'll talk about how she can engage that person, that family member, into providing her support or something else, right? And so because we've done that, the plan, we can include all that in the assessment or the response. The plan don't change, okay? So before the next session, she's going to reflect on, did I do my self-care activity? What were my barriers or obstacles, if any? I need to write them down. You give them that instruction and bring it back to the next session. The plan does not change. Put a 1 in the comment box if you're watching live or later and you're like, wow, this is so simple. Matter of fact, give me a 10. If you believe it's a 10, give me a 10. Okay, so the note template, I've kind of repeated this over and over, but as a recap, the goal mostly stays the same throughout all the weeks based off your curriculum. The intervention should be based on the session curriculum so you can create those in a Google Doc and just copy and paste, copy and paste. If you know you're going to be doing the therapy group more than once, or you can wait till the first round is over. See, I'm real good with copy and pastable templates. So what I would do is I would go into my EHR and say, I do this group every quarter. I do this group every summer. So what I would do is I would, after the whole group is over and I've, made sure that I don't need to make no tweaks because you can make tweaks, then I would upload or create that template like in a simple practice. Okay. If you need to know what simple practice is or you want to 30-day trial, go ahead and check the link below this video. Okay. But we teach the simple practice. What I would do is I would upload it as a template for a progress note. I would call it my postpartum under one therapy group template. Okay. And then I would literally plug in week 1 note, week 246 note, 8 note, odd number note. I would make it where I got 3 templates for one group that's 8 weeks where me or somebody I train can come in and just do the note. Boom, right? So response, it should be personalized and individualized. Plan based on the curriculum and the homework. Okay, keep it simple, connect it to the group goal. The reason I keep repeating this is because it is simple. So what actually saves you time? Your goal, intervention, and plan can be prepped before the group. We've already said that. Your response section is where you take your time. Why group prep matters. And this is again where I see people just skip. They actually skip this for therapy clients, 101. So a lot of therapists that I've talked to over the last 20 plus years is they launch the group first and then they figure out the structure later. They get the individual client for a new presenting problem first, and then they figure out how they're going to help the client later. And then we wonder why people prematurely terminate, why people all of a sudden ghost you. I'm not saying that this is the only reason, but sometimes people stop coming to therapy because we're not organized. So that is what makes notes stressful. Simply put, preparation. Okay. So what should be built before you launch a therapy group? Now, this is not an exhaustive list. This is a simplified one. You should know what topic you're covering. What problem are you solving? Not presenting. What problem are you solving? So if I'm looking at this masterclass right now, I'm solving the problem of writing progress notes for therapy groups are not overwhelming. You just don't prep. That's a problem I'm solving. Time, efficiency. Okay. Topic, Population, who are you serving? What is the problem? What is the desired outcome? You have to include an intake process for group therapy clients, not one on one. It's a different set of questions. That's where the starter kit comes in. Screening questions in the intake process, paperwork, policies, because there may be some verbiage around shared space. Hello. Reminders, session flow, meaning if you're doing even a telehealth group. I've done a telehealth support group. I've done a whole YouTube video on that. Check my YouTube channel. It's not under live, it's under regular videos. Just type in group and a whole lot of videos will pop up. But there's a difference between support groups and therapy groups, but I'm just going to focus on the structure. My group, I ran it as a contractor for a mom's postpartum group, actually, when I was going through not postpartum itself, but just the postpartum period. And so my son was under one. That's why I'm very familiar with it, and I give this topic a lot. So the group practice that was wanting clinicians in California to do this support group through a grant that they had, they brought a lot of clinicians on. I was referred to by a friend. So they sent us a cool little shirt to wear it every day for like branding purposes, like mom something. I forgot what it was called. But the structure of the group was they did the whole intake process. They gave me all the intake questionnaires. So I didn't have to do that piece. But what was very important was the structure. So they made sure that all these women fit a particular life season. Okay. So we have the curriculum, but I was able to personalize it a bit. Okay. And then what we did is we did a check in for the first 10 minutes. Then we did the session for about 35, 40 minutes. Then around the 50-minute mark, I said, hey, I want you to take yourself off screen. I'm going to send you the link. And we were on Zoom because it wasn't a therapy group per se. But we had all our, what is it called? The BAA agreements, privacy, HIPAA, all that kind of stuff, right? So we have the woman take themselves off camera. And then I said, I'm going to give you 2 to 3 minutes. I want you to fill out the survey that the group needs. And so we did that at the 50-ish minute mark. They only took 2 to 3 minutes. And my sign for me knowing that they were done, they would come back on screen. It literally took 3 to 4 minutes max. When they came back on screen, then we did a closeout. And we said, what one thing, whatever we're working on, like self-care, what is one thing that you're going to work on this week? And I want you to come back and talk about it next week in your check-in. Easy. Okay. Session flow. And then graduation plan. All right. So this is all why I created the starter kit, because I would get questions here and there about therapy groups, but I also realized that a lot of therapists that are in private practice, or maybe you're a student and you want to do therapy groups, but your person who you're working under, they need this, right? I've had that happen a lot actually on social media. So I created the therapy starter kit because I wanted people to understand what you're walking into and to brainstorm what you want to do with a therapy group. But therapy group to me is one of those lowest hanging fruits right next to individual therapy if you like working with people in groups and you want to serve more while working less. Okay. So what it's focused on with the kit is it's the starter kit because it's focused on structure before the launch. So it's giving you a sneak peek into the 35-point checklist that I am giving you. It is showing you what does a framework look like for what your group is going to be. And then it gives you a set of intake questions to add into your actual regular intake. And it gives you a bonus in my Kajabi portal, a mini audio course walking you through, because I know how y'all get with these PDFs. You're like, oh, I got it. I'm excited. I'm gonna look at it right now. And you don't. So I'll walk you through an actionable activity, low-key, like we in a therapy group, okay? But you can binge listen to that thing in one day. So that is the starter kit. It is below this video, okay? Now, if you want the full launch process, I did a 90-minute masterclass, and what I did for those, and there were actually more people who got it after I went live, I uploaded into a portal, and then I broke it down into bite-sized pieces so that you will have a 90-day therapy group timeline, okay? So it includes the 90-day timeline, the intake process, the debrief process, the swipe template files, and an implementation workbook. Again, both of those links are below. Now you actually can bundle it. So it don't matter which one you click, the other one will be available to add it on. And I recommend both because you have that audio to get you started, to give you a sneak peek. You have those intake questions. You have your SOP 35-point checklist. But then now you have the masterclass that walks you through the launch. I'm not talking about intake paperwork launch. I'm talking about marketing launch, identifying your targeted audience. Literally by the time you're done, you should be launching your group. Okay. So it is self-paced. You can do it on your, on your own. Okay. So again, grab the starter kit, get the bundle, get the masterclass, launch a therapy group with more structure, less guessing, and basic, simple, clear documentation. All right. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how did y'all like this live masterclass? Like, how did you like this style? I really love answering questions like when they come under the YouTube video and on Instagram and TikTok. I just cannot put all of this information on no 30-second clip. Like, that is just not who I am. And it just doesn't work for me. Like, I'm not a do I do believe in simple, but business is not easy. Okay. I am not that coach that be like, I'm just gonna give you this swipe template and you're gonna make $10,000. No, I'm not gonna be that coach. I am that coach that will tell you you need to put in this work. You have to want you have to want the outcome. And as soon as you declare your 90-day goal with me, that is our clients in our Scale Academy. If you want the outcome that you said that you wanted, you better be checking in with me like you want your clients to check in with me, because I'm not going to chase you, but I will support you. All right, so I'm going to put this question up. It's been 11 years since I held a group. This live has reminded me of the skills. Yes, that's why I did it. Need to dust off. Glad I still have my old group documents. Okay, that's what we're talking about. Okay, so I would say if you started a group, check out the masterclass though, because it actually goes through the launching, especially for those of you who've launched a group under another entity structure. I can guarantee you they didn't, unless you did it with them, they may not have shared with you all of the intricate behind the scene details, very similar to if you're a clinical supervisor. And so the starter kit is a great place to start because you do want that checklist, but like compare it to yours and make sure you got everything. But definitely check out the masterclass, because that is a core shell that you can have, that you can always go back to. It's not like a webinar that disappears after an hour, right? So 90853. All right. And if you take insurance, I'm just going to put it out there. I have done videos. If you have questions about this, drop it below and I'll create another video for it. But just a sneak peek. I have done groups where there has been a mixture of private pay, like I did teenagers, private pay teenagers at an office on Saturdays. And then about 2 to 3 out of the 7 to 8 girls actually did insurance. But I knew from the outset what I wanted the group to make, whether it was me running it, co-facilitated with an associate, MFT associate in California, or a social worker associate. It was called interns back then. We knew how much we wanted to generate per hour. And a simple way to actually start a therapy group in your practice, I've done plenty of videos on this, simplified, is start surveying your current clients to see if there's an overlapping presenting problem. And the easiest way to do this is to pay attention to see if you're repeating yourself every single session. Because if it feels like you could have put it on a podcast and just sent it to your clients, it doesn't mean that they don't need individual therapy, but it might mean that they could benefit from an additional CPT code. But if they take insurance, then you need to make sure that you understand what the reimbursement rate is and calculate that into the amount you want to make. Let's just say if it's $350 an hour and you have 8 people in there, but 2 of the people, the group therapy only reimburse at $25, and that's included with their copay. Well, that's $50. So you need to get the other 300. So where is that going to come from? So let's just do the math, right? If it's 8 people in the group, that's your goal. And you want to make $300 more, right? So 300 more divided by 6, because 2 people is 25 and 25. So 6, that's $50. Okay. $50 for, I guess, some people's, because I had this comment like, oh my God, that sounds like a lot. And I'm like, well, first of all, some people can't pay for individual therapy. Some people don't want a track record for their individual therapy. Some people just want to work on one subset skill set because maybe they don't want to even lock in for, I don't know how long, for individual therapy yet. Some people, group therapy is the preview to individual therapy. So group therapy can be an add-on service. It can be a taper down service, or it can be a preview service. Ain't that a word? Okay. So if you got more questions, drop it below. Grab the kid if you have not gotten it before. If you have the kid and you did not get the masterclass, I don't know what you're doing. Okay. So I will talk to y'all later. The more questions that come in, the more I'll go live, because I love live, because to be honest, I'm a mom myself. My son is upstairs. And sometimes we just don't have time to edit videos. So I would just rather talk to y'all. So, all right, y'all have a great rest of your week. It is Thursday. So some of y'all, it's y'all Fridays. If not, get your notes done.